There's this really cool chord I remember learning about in music theory classes, but it's not something you see put into practice too much these days. It's called the Neapolitan chord, and it gives music this harmonic flavor that's reminiscent of vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. It is a real thing though. It's called the Neapolitan chord because it's associated with a bunch of 18th century Italian opera composers, but it wasn't super commonly used in Western music until the Romantic period in the 19th century. Nowadays it makes an occasional appearance in pop music. Prior to making this video, I actually didn't know of any modern examples, but here's a list from Wikipedia. This one was surprising, and I'm a little shocked with myself for not knowing that because I am a huge Zelda fan. But anyway, what is a Neapolitan chord? It's actually really simple. It's a major triad built on the lowered second scale degree of whatever key you're in. So for example, if you're in the key of G, the Neapolitan chord is A flat major. You could also call it a Phrygian 2 chord because it's also the 2 chord in the Phrygian mode, but when you use it, it doesn't typically imply that you're shifting to the Phrygian mode, so that's kind of a misleading name. Not that Neapolitan tells you much. So that's what it is. How do you use it? First, we have to understand a basic tenet of functional harmony. Functional harmony concerns the tendency of certain chords to want to progress to certain other chords. There's a lot of science and math behind why it works the way it does, and we can use it to set up expectations in and control the drama level of music. In my view, the chords of any key can be categorized into one of three functions: tonic, predominant, or dominant. You may have heard of a 2-5-1 progression. If you don't know what that is, you do know what it sounds like because it is everywhere. A 2-5-1 progression illustrates this idea perfectly. The 2 chord is the predominant, the 5 chord is the dominant, and the 1 chord is the tonic. Tonic is home. It's where the music starts from, and it's where it's trying to end up. The dominant is the tension or the conflict that ultimately wants to resolve to the tonic. Everything about it desperately wants to reach the tonic. The 2 chord is the predominant. This is the rising action or the mounting tension. We're not at the climactic moment that happens on the dominant, but we're going somewhere. The 2 chord, the vast majority of the time, serves this function. The 4 chord does the exact same thing, just with a different flavor. The Neapolitan chord, in its typical use case, is a substitution for the 2 or the 4 chord. It has a predominant function. Whenever you insert it into a song or composition, the chord that logically follows is the 5 chord. And here's how it sounds. So you can still hear that logical flow, except now it has the flavor of vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Let's pick apart why this works. First, we need to know what scale degrees make up this chord. If we're in the key of G, our Neapolitan is A flat major. We have A flat, C, and E flat. A flat is our lowered second scale degree. We knew that already. C is the 4th scale degree. This is just naturally in the key. E flat is the lowered 6th scale degree. In the key of G, our 6th scale degree by default is E natural. Generally speaking, flat notes want to resolve down a half step, and sharp notes want to go up a half step. That's kind of what happens here. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that traditionally the Neapolitan chord is supposed to be voiced in first inversion, meaning the 3rd of the chord is in the bass. If you do that, you end up with a 4-5-1 motion in the bass line. That goes a long way in creating this predominant to dominant to tonic motion, and it sounds a lot less weird than flat 2-5-1. The lowered second scale degree, A flat, in this case, should go to the leading tone, which is the 7th scale degree, which in this case is F sharp, which is the 3rd of the 5 chord, which is D major. And then of course the leading tone resolves to G in the 1 chord. Here's how that motion sounds. This almost creates the effect of an upper leading tone a half step above the tonic, but we chromatically enclose it on either side. And then last we have E flat, the lowered 6th scale degree. This wants to go a half step down to the 5th scale degree, which is D. It's just the root of the 5 chord. And in the resolution to the tonic, it could either resolve down to G, or just stay right where it is as the 5th of the 1 chord. I'm going to do that when I piece this all together. And then if we double our bass note in the middle voices somewhere, we can keep it right where it is when we get to the 5 chord. That will make it a dominant 7th chord instead of just a dominant triad. Then that would naturally resolve down to B, the 3rd of the 1 chord, for the tonic resolution. Here's all that combined. And there you go. So to wrap up, this isn't really a chord you can just drop into existing songs without any care. It's something you'll get more use out of in composing and songwriting. It's just a different way of creating a common functional chord sequence. I think it's kind of underrated. People should use it more. It's a really nice sound. Of course, you don't want to use it too much, otherwise it'll get stale. Or I guess the ice cream will melt. So, have fun exploring that, and I will see you in next week's video.